Hello everybody, this is Pete back again. It is new comic book day, comic book releases on Wednesday, and what Marvel has done is they have put out 2 first issues today, and I'm going to put them head to head to see which one you should be getting into and which one you should probably just not worry about. Generation X and Luke Cage, both first issues. Luke Cage goes back to the 70s. He's been around here and there. He's got a new show on Netflix, which I haven't gotten into. And you have Generation X, which was around a lot during the 80s and 90s, during the big X-Men days. It stars Jubilee, who was a former member of the Generation X squad. When I get into these, I noticed Generation X is a bunch of the non-X-Men, the new class of kids who just won't be X-Men. They're not the superheroes you're used to. It reminds me a lot of the Jedi Apprentice books, if you're into the Star Wars books. In the Jedi Apprentice, it said that the Padawans who wouldn't be Jedis would be sent off the planets to become farmers and use whatever force skills they have to grow food. And if you read the Jedi Apprentice books, that's where Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi meet up for the first time. Obi-Wan wasn't supposed to be a Jedi, so he goes to one of these farms to use his Jedi skills, his force skills. And that's what Generation X seems to me. They won't be X-Men, so we're going to put them off in their own class and see how that works out. At least they didn't get sent to the plantations. They get sent to a nice mansion in New York City. The Generation X is, I guess what they're telling us is the future of mutations will end up being a lot of light-skinned people. Just the way that worked out. Generation X, a lot of the names of the characters really feel like the old naming, where he would just name characters after the street names of drugs. You got Phoebe Cuckoo, Roxy Washington, Lynn Lee, and Eyeboy, because Eyeboy has eyes all over his face. In this issue, the team gets attacked by one of its own members. Quentin Quires, upset that his shoes got damaged, so he destroys a wing of the Xavier Mansion. Nathan Carver, who is kind of like the audience here, says, "This is ridiculous, I'm out of here." And Nathan Carver packs his bags and he starts walking out of the school, which I think a lot of the readers did to this point too. I'll give a mention to the writer Christina Strain. She did Runaways and Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane. Cage starts out very reminiscent of the 1970s Luke Cage and how the comics used to be done. There's a line right in the beginning, "Don't cause no trouble, Mr. Cage," and Luke Cage says, "Don't start none, won't be none." Shot, but nobody gets killed, done in that very 1970s TV action film kind of way. Luke Cage reminds me a lot of the old A-Team, Hero for Hire. If you need help, call the A-Team. So Luke Cage reminds me a lot of that. The book modernizes very quickly. The story starts developing. Luke's mentor, Noah Bernstein, passes away. The story starts to develop a little bit. Noah's research partner, Lenore Mornay, doesn't think that Professor Noah actually killed himself. It was supposed suicide. Then Luke and Lenore get attacked. The story ends on a hook, which seems very familiar. An ex-war hero who turned out to be super soldier bad guy comes back to help the good guys, if only he can keep his rage in check. And it's not Bucky, it's somebody else. So, but that feels a little bit familiar, the way this story ended. I don't think that the issues that follow are going to follow any kind of old Marvel storyline. Hopefully they develop into something. Luke Cage shows his vulnerability in this issue. It's almost like they found his kryptonite. They were able to get him to bleed, and he's hurt very severely. David F. Walker is the writer of this story. I've known him from Cyborg over on DC. I read those. I think he's a very good writer. I think he's going to do very good with this story. So I think obviously fleshing this out, I feel like Luke Cage is the supreme winner in first issues. I think Luke Cage is probably the one you need to go to your local shop and tell them, make sure you're stocking this. I'm going to be coming in and taking a look at it. If you're near me, Scarecrow Games, Millsboro, Delaware, Chiefs Road, that's where you need to be. Tell them you need to start stocking Luke Cage. It's going to be one to look out for. Generation X, unless you are really into the X-Men and following the, what do they got, 7 or 8 X-Men titles every month, even if you are following all those titles, this might be one that you can skip. They might drag this along for a little bit. I don't see the story there. I'm not into it. That's a personal preference. If you are into the X-Men, by all means, continue on. I like the X-Men as much as anybody. I just don't see the story here. I got to mention to you, on this release day, there's a couple of other things you need to be looking out for. Spawn #1, the 25th anniversary edition, has come out today. That's something you probably want to take a look at. For any Star Trek fans out there, Star Trek The Next Generation, Mirror Broken. It's a story about Jean-Luc Picard in the Mirror Universe. Now, The Next Generation did not get into the Mirror Universe. That was primarily the original series in Deep Space Nine. Jean-Luc Picard in the Mirror Universe is trying to take over the Empire, which was destroyed by the Cardassian Klingon Alliance. It's a 6-issue miniseries. I think that's something, if you're a Trek fan, you might want to pick up, look at. That's definitely something. You got Hidden Empire #2 releases today, and The Flash and Supergirl both get trade paperbacks coming out today. That's going to help you catch up to DC as we get closer to the Dark Days event this summer. Well, that's it for me, everybody. Give us a shout out on KVidcast on Twitter. Let us know how we're doing. Give us some likes, some shares, some subscribes. We'll look out for you. You look out for us. And hopefully we'll come out with another release day battle matchup. Take care.